What Meghan Markle wanted for her wedding day and what she was actually offered are two very different stories. Her vision was to walk into the chapel alone, center stage, unforgettable. What she really wanted was even bigger: William, the future king, to walk her down the aisle. That image would have symbolically tied her to the crown forever. But the palace didn't give her that. Instead, options were floated: her father, her mother, even King Charles at the very last minute. What she wanted and what she was offered clashed, and in that gap, you can see the manipulations, the negotiations, and the image making in real time. And here's where it gets darker. When you connect Meghan's desire for that royal symbolism to her alleged treatment of Princess Charlotte, a chilling pattern emerges: envy, projection, and control, all the hallmarks of malignant narcissism. Let's talk about all this, but before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. All right, everyone. What I wanted to do today is go through this article that was just published, and it's titled "The Queen's Private Dismay Over Uncomfortable Meghan and Harry Wedding Change That Was Requested by the Royal Bride," according to author. It begins, and perhaps the most surprising departure from custom was the absence of Meghan's father, Thomas Markle, who was due to walk his daughter down the aisle. In a last minute change of plan, it was decided that Prince Charles would meet his daughter in law halfway down the aisle, as Meghan had always planned to walk in by herself. It was reported that Meghan asked the Prince of Wales to take the place of her father after discussions with Harry. Let's pause here. There's a whole lot to say about here. So, the first thing is in regards to Thomas Markle. That situation could honestly be its very own video series, because there is so much manipulation, drama, and contradictions that happen there. So I'm not going to get too deep into that here. But what stands out to me is that Meghan had always planned to walk down the aisle by herself. That detail almost feels like foreshadowing and maybe even sheds light on the Thomas Markle fallout, as though the drama with him fit neatly into her original plan. Then later in the same article, we're going to see a contradiction. Here it says that Meghan asked Prince Charles to step in, but later we're going to see that it was Harry that asked, and then Meghan negotiated how it would happen. That inconsistency tells me that there was careful shaping of the narrative. Who made the ask and how becomes part of the image being crafted. This entire situation really shows us Meghan's grandiosity. Grandiosity is one of the hallmarks of narcissism. It's more than confidence, it's the belief that you're exceptional, unique, and destined to stand out. From the start, Meghan had always planned to walk into the chapel alone, or with another person that she had in mind that we'll get into in a minute. That was her vision, and she really tried all she could to make that happen. Royal weddings are steeped in tradition. Brides are usually escorted by a family member, which is a symbolic gesture of humility and belonging. By rejecting that, Meghan created a striking, unforgettable image. This wasn't just independence, it's theater, a moment staged to put her at the very center of the story, not as part of a family legacy, but as a singular figure entering on her own terms. This is what grandiosity looks like. The article continues. Charles released a statement saying he was pleased to welcome her to the royal family in this way, but not all members of the family were happy with the decision. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward wrote in her book, My Mother and I, the Queen was not comfortable with the Prince of Wales standing in for Meghan's father and was similarly concerned about 96-year-old Prince Philip walking down the aisle without a stick, having had hip replacement only 5 weeks beforehand. In a documentary, Harry described the moment he asked Charles to walk Meghan down the aisle. He said that Charles told him, "Yes, of course, I'll do whatever Meghan needs, and I'm here to support you." Writing in Queen of Our Times, author Robert Hardman said Meghan's reply, according to one friend, was not quite what he was expecting. "Can we meet halfway?" Here was an indicator that this was no blushing bride, but a confident, independent woman, determined to make a grand entrance on her own. And I'm laughing because I can think of other adjectives to describe Megan here, other than confident and independent. Grandiose actually sounds like a great adjective to use here. And really, what this tells me, what this shows us, that it was Harry's idea to ask his dad to walk Megan down the aisle. And that's why Megan here is negotiating. Maybe she felt uncomfortable to reject the idea outright right before the wedding. And she thought to herself, okay, maybe we can just do it halfway so that she can walk the first half by herself. I'm curious to know what you all think about this, though. Let me know in the thoughts if you feel or if you get that impression as well. The article continues, according to royal expert and biographer Duncan Larcombe, the possibility of Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland, walking her daughter down the aisle was discussed, but ultimately they decided that Charles would be a better option. Doria and Meghan discussed it, but she just didn't feel she could go through with it. According to the guidance I've been given, Megan felt that it would be too much to expect her mother to perform such an important role when there are more than 1 billion people are expected to be watching. Larcombe told Harper's Bazaar UK. Megan wouldn't have been the first royal to be walked down the aisle by her mother. There is so much to say here. And I think the last sentence says it all. This would not be the first time that a royal was walked down the aisle by her mother. And we know Meghan wants to set the precedent. Meghan wants to do things that have not been done before. So, in my opinion, Meghan was fighting to not have her mom walk her down the aisle. And that's why this excuse that's given, it doesn't sound, I mean, there's a word I want to use for it that's not, I don't know, I don't feel appropriate using it on here, but it's not the truth. It's made up because she felt it was too much to expect her mother to perform such an important role. I mean, it's just walking down the aisle. The article says that she just couldn't feel she could go through with it. What on earth does that mean? This was all clearly an excuse and a way for Megan to get what she wanted. And so far, I think I've shown you that she was hesitant about Charles walking her down the aisle because when it was offered, she tried to negotiate that. And she absolutely didn't want her mother to walk her down the aisle. So that leaves us one option, right? That Megan would walk down the aisle on her own. But there is another option. And I'm going to show that to you now. This comes from a thread on Reddit. It was posted by Human Economics 6894, and it reads, Neil Sean broke the gossip yesterday, but it's quickly spreading across the internet. Who was it that Megsy wanted to walk her down the aisle when she married Harry, allegedly? And this thread is actually talking about a Neil Sean video that had been posted. I'm going to link that video in the comments if you want to go watch that Neil Sean video. On X, this was summarized by As Ever Juliet, who said, OMG, Markle's first choice of walking her down the aisle was not, in fact, Charles. It was William for optics of having the future king in the picture. Queen Elizabeth's answer was a resounding no. Her manipulation was off the charts very early on, and you can see here that Angela Levin retweeted this. The Reddit thread continues and says, according to Sean, who said yesterday that he didn't expect this gossip because everything that had happened was supposedly already known, Megsy didn't want Thomas Markle to walk her down the aisle, not only because of his appearance, but because because that was inferior to her. She wanted their wedding photo to appear in the history books. Sean said in a previous video that the Queen wasn't told that Charles would walk Megsy down the aisle, and that she told someone something like, Megsy wanted that because she knew it would be historic, a Prince of Wales giving away his son's future wife. But Sean said yesterday that Megsy's first choice was William, and for that same reason, she wanted William's reign to be tied to the image of him walking her down the aisle. Chilling. The Reddit thread continues and says it all started when Harry didn't want William to be his best man, but Sean makes it clear that Harry lied about that in Spare. And then Megsy told him, then let him walk me down the aisle. He's not your best man. we wouldn't be breaking any rules. But the real reason was that Megsy really liked William and William's prestige, and in photos and videos throughout William's reign, there would always be that picture of him walking her down the aisle. Yes, she would have wanted him to be the groom, but she settled for him to escort her. But not only did William refuse, but when the queen found out what the Harkles wanted, she completely rejected the idea. She and Prince Philip flatly refused. Then Megxie said she would walk down the aisle alone, but secretly she got Harry to convince Charles. That caught the queen by surprise. Very, very, very rude situation. That's the full scoop on that matter. So, in summary, what's being said here is that Meghan's first preference was William, and she manipulated everyone around her by saying she would just walk down the aisle by herself. And that led to Harry asking his dad to ask. And that led to Harry asking his dad to walk Meghan down the aisle. But because Meghan negotiated that, I don't think that's the case. And just based on what we're seeing here, my gut feeling is that here's the order. Here's Meghan's preference for William to walk her down the aisle. That was number one. Number two was her walking by herself, and everything else she just didn't want, and she did because she had to. I then wanted to look into what is being said here about Harry and the best man and what was written in Spare. So I pulled out an excerpt, and I wanted to show you this part where Harry's talking about how it's the eve of the wedding. All of his friends are gathered there, but his brother isn't there. And I want you to look at that last paragraph. It says, he'd been scheduled to join us for the evening, but like Meg's father, he'd canceled last minute. This statement raised a lot of red flags for me, and this is actually a great example of why Spare is a great resource for understanding what happens when someone is involved with a narcissist, how the isolation happens. So let's talk about this comparison. With Thomas Markle, Meghan tried very hard to make sure her dad didn't come to the wedding. There was drama, staged paparazzi, constant back and forth to ensure that he wouldn't be there. The absence directly impacted the wedding ceremony itself and who would walk her down the aisle. Versus now this situation with Prince William. Harry claims that William canceled on attending this get together the night before the wedding. William was still at the wedding and performed his formal duties. This is nowhere near the same as a father not attending or walking his daughter down the aisle. And this is why this matters. Harry equates the two as though Meghan's father and William both let them down, but in reality, that framing diminishes William's role and makes his absence sound more dramatic than it is. This kind of narrative shaping is exactly how manipulation works. The first step is to isolate and to paint supportive figures like William as unreliable. The second is control the frame, treat small slights as if they're betrayals, while deflecting the deeper family rifts that Meghan actively created. And finally, blur categories, equating two situations that are completely different so they feel the same emotionally, even though they're not logically equal. So to me, this absolutely sounds like manipulation. Someone aligning a sibling's minor change of plans with a father being absent from the wedding creates false equivalence. And it's one that results in Harry feeling more isolated and let down by his own family and specifically his brother. And one more thing that came to me on top of that, it's that here is another example of Harry and Meghan experiencing the same type of loss, the same type of emotional letdown. It's another way for them to connect. It's another way to strengthen that trauma bond. Continuing on in that excerpt, I'm going to leave it up here if you want to read it. It just explains why William wasn't able to make it. And then the last paragraph, it says, I asked myself what was really going on. Was he feeling bad about not being my best man? So I wanted to hone in on that about this best man ordeal, because that Reddit post said that Meghan said, well, William's not your best man, so he can walk me down the aisle. And I didn't understand that. So I wanted to confirm what was said in Spare. And in Spare, you can see Harry is saying that William was not his best man. That Reddit thread, though, says that Neil Sean has said that this statement that Harry is making is not true, that William was the best man. So there are conflicting reports here. But what does that have to do with walking someone down the aisle? And I was looking that up, and what I found is that tradition says that the best man supports the groom, not the bride. And therefore, William essentially couldn't play both roles. By excluding him as best man, Meghan was essentially trying to open a loophole. So here is where there could be more manipulation that was happening here. Perhaps she was trying to create tension within the brothers so Harry wouldn't pick William as his best man, leaving William available to walk Meghan down the aisle. All of this is allegedly. I'm curious to know what you all think about this and if you see this as well. Now, if all of this is true, if Meghan's true desire, number one choice, was for William to walk Meghan down the aisle, and all of these manipulations have taken place, I can't help but think this could be part of the animosity that Meghan feels towards Princess Charlotte. And let me explain that. If you view Meghan through the lens of a malignant narcissist, which I do, allegedly, well, I don't allegedly think that. I do think that. And I allege that Meghan is a malignant narcissist. Anyways, envy is always at the core. William will one day likely walk Charlotte down the aisle. That role, that symbolic honor, will belong to her. For someone like Meghan, this is unbearable. Narcissists can't stand when someone else is positioned to receive love, validation, or prestige that they can't control. It's not just about Charlotte being a child, it's about what Charlotte represents: continuity, legacy, and a secure place in the royal family that Meghan will never have. This really resonated with me because I lived through something similar with my own malignant narcissist stepmom. The jealousy wasn't about me as a person, but about what I represented: my connection to my family, my historic connection with my dad, my future, and even the love and validation I received that she couldn't take away. And when narcissists feel that kind of envy, they often lash out, especially at the most vulnerable. So when I hear these reports about Meghan bullying Princess Charlotte, it just shows me that this was not random or petty. It fits the same playbook: undermine, diminish, and control anyone who symbolizes what the narcissist can't have. I do want to go a little bit deeper into this. For malignant narcissists, envy isn't just about possessions. It's about roles, legacy, and future symbolism. Princess Charlotte is a symbol. Even as a child, Charlotte embodies continuity. One day, she'll likely have a royal wedding where her father, a future king, walks her down the aisle. That single image will symbolize stability and heritage. And for Meghan, that's something she could never own or control. Now let's compare that to Meghan. Her father was absent, her request for William was rejected, and an uneasy arrangement made with Charles at the last minute. That contrast, Charlotte destined for the picture perfect symbolism Meghan never had, is exactly the kind of wound that triggers narcissistic envy. Her wedding, Meghan's wedding, carried absence, rejection, and negotiation, and that must have cut deep. What we're seeing here is projection in action. That's why the reports of Meghan bullying Charlotte don't sound random or petty. They fit the narcissistic playbook. When someone symbolizes the validation you'll never secure, they get undermined, diminished, and controlled. I thought we could end this video going through some footage of Meghan's walk down the aisle. The very first moment is this one, where Megan is coming out of the car, and this is the one where she allegedly swats that gentleman's hand away. Now, you saw how it went black there? I didn't do that. I had gotten this video, or I was viewing this video from the royal family's YouTube channel, and it seems like it's the official channel of the British monarchy. It says it right here. And then the video comes on right after that hand swatting moment went away. So they blacked out that part. Now, If you are available and you have some time, go check it out. Let me know if that moment blacks out for you as well. So because of that, I had to go get my footage elsewhere. And here it is. Here's the moment Megan comes out. She fixes her shoe and she swats the gentleman's hand away. Now, at first, I didn't really notice it. I had to zoom in a little bit closer and slow it down just to see. But you can see she really does push the gentleman's hand away. Let's continue. Here's the clip where she's walking in. The lighting wasn't all that great, am I right? And she starts walking in. Again, the lighting is not all that great. I wonder I don't know if there I wonder if there was a way to improve the lighting. I think it gives that eerie look to it. And I mean, look at Harry's face here. His lips are pressed together, the corners slightly downturned. To me, this suggests tension or restraint rather than joy. His brows are slightly lowered and knitted, which can signal concern, nervousness, or inner conflict. His gaze is downward. He's not really scanning the room or lighting up in anticipation of what's about to happen. It almost looks like he's lost in thought or weighed down. Overall, his expression, I think, could be described as somber, apprehensive, and emotionally heavy. Instead of excitement, he looks like someone carrying a burden in that moment. But you all let me know what you think. Here's the next clip. The walk continues. You see Harry laugh, but it's when William is talking to him, and I thought that moment was sweet. There's all the adorable children. Oh my goodness, so cute. And here's a better shot of the kids. You can see Princess Charlotte, so cute, and Prince George. Oh my goodness, adorable, absolutely adorable. Here's the moment that Megan walks up to the king, and I always wondered what that little tap was all about. It reminds me so much of how Megan taps Harry to control him almost. I don't know, was it instinct? Was she trying to do those same types of was she trying to do those same types of maneuvers on the king? I don't know. Strange, totally strange. All right, here's the next clip. They're almost at the altar, and the way that Megan smiles and does that head shake there reminds me of a lot of the way she behaved in an interview she had with Sarah Rafferty. Let me show you that clip.
People who ship Harvey and Donna, where do you stand on their relationship? Is it more than just friends?
Well, that's so interesting you should ask.
Megan's behavior is so rude here. The way she's using her shoulder to block the interviewer, she's purposely positioning herself in between Sarah Rafferty and the interviewer and turning her back on the interviewer. She's so rude. Let's watch the next clip. And Megan, to me, when she's walking there, she's looking straight at William first, and then she gazes towards Harry. Let's watch that again. See, her eyes are first towards William, and I purposely wanted to show you how far William and Harry are standing from each other so that you can see that her first glance really is towards William. This is the moment that Harry looks over at his dad and thanks him for escorting Megan down the aisle. And then finally, we have this moment that Megan's mask slips as soon as Princess Charlotte walks by. Based on what we've talked about in this video, Megan's envy is apparent, and it's not hard to imagine that Megan was nasty towards that beautiful child. Well, I'm curious to know what you all think about this. Please drop your thoughts in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're looking for a meaningful way to support something beyond the screen, I'd love for you to consider making a donation to the National Domestic Violence Hotline in lieu of super chats and super stickers. They provide 24/7 support and resources for people in unsafe or overwhelming situations, whether that's emotional, physical, or just hard to name. Their information is on the screen should you need to contact them, and you'll find the link to donate in the description of this video. Every little bit helps, and it means a lot. Thank you again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.